Today I'm back in Spain to ride on a high-speed train, but this one has a special twist. Welcome aboard the Talgo 250. Capable of some impressive high speeds, but also it can change tracks from broad gauge to standard gauge in just 1 minute, all with the unique Talgo wheel design, which I'll explain later on. So join me on this Spanish train as I experience the highest level of service, up the coast to the Catalan capital of Barcelona. Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm just here outside of Alacant-Terminal in Spain, and I'm going to be catching the Renfe Talgo train up the Balearic coast to Barcelona. I'm travelling in premium class for this journey. Let's go. Good morning from a very quiet Alacant-Terminal, the main station here in the Spanish city of Alicante. It's currently around 06:15 and the sun is yet to rise. But let's head over to the station building. One thing you might notice is that the station doesn't use the Spanish name of the city, instead opting for the local Valencian language version. Heading inside, there's a tourist information office, no doubt to serve people arriving in the city on a long distance train. You'll also find the station's staffed ticket office and a meeting point for disabled passengers who need assistance with travel. The main hall at this station is a large and open construction, with a high ceiling tall enough to fit a train. Well, this building actually used to be where the trains ran. In 2013, a major overhaul took place, moving the tracks out of this building to allow room for shops, and another feature that I don't really like, which we'll get to later. And if you are not a huge fan of the shops on offer, then there are also a few vending machines. By the way, when I visited, there was some sort of temporary art exhibition, as well as a piano. So, my train today will be number 1092, the 0725 Renfe Euromed service to Barcelona Sants. Spain is a late rising country, and so this is actually one of the first trains of the day from the city. All passengers for long distance trains must first pass through an airport style security check and bag scan. It's usually very quick, but still rather annoying, considering no other country in Europe does this on such a large scale. We are now into the new wing of the station for high speed trains that opened with the 2013 overhaul. There are basically no facilities here, so don't make the mistake of rushing through security like I did. Commuter and regional trains depart from a separate area next to the high-speed platforms. The train is not yet ready to board, as we won't be departing for nearly an hour. But not to worry, I arrived extra early to visit the Renfe Sala Club Lounge, which I get access to using my premium ticket. Unfortunately, this was temporarily closed, so I instead went and sat on a wooden bench in the corner. Eventually, the train is called for boarding and a massive queue forms. I joined the back of the line and slowly shuffled forwards. It honestly felt like boarding a plane and was a bad start to the journey. Anyway, with that unnecessary hassle over, it's time to get on the train, where hopefully the experience will feel a little bit more premium. My ride today will be on one of these slick looking Renfe Series 130 units. Currently on Iberian broad gauge track, meaning a 1668mm gap between the rails. I don't know about you, but I love this striking design. Let me know what you think of the appearance in the comments. These trains were built by Talgo, a Spanish manufacturer. Talgo trains are best known for their small design, with carriages being roughly half the size of a regular one. They also have a distinct wheel layout, with just 2 independent wheels per carriage. This has a major impact on comfort, as we will soon see. And lastly, this particular model is capable of changing tracks on the go, from Iberian broad gauge to European standard gauge, as Renfe has a mixture of both on its network. As a side note, these trains also operate in Uzbekistan, on 1520mm gauge tracks. Time to get on board. I'm travelling in coach 1, which uses this shared doorway. My premium ticket allows me to reserve a Confort seat, which is what Renfe calls its first class seating. The seats are in a 2+1 layout, as you'd expect. I've reserved 5A today, a rear-facing single seat, but we will reverse later on in the journey. Our route will see us heading north, reversing in Valencia, before running on the Balearic coast for the rest of the trip. We'll change to standard gauge in Tarragona for the last leg into Barcelona. Journey time is scheduled to be 4 hours and 52 minutes, covering 545 kilometres or about 339 miles. We depart on schedule at 07:25, still very much in the darkness. There's not going to be much to see outside for the first half an hour or so, but thankfully the staff soon come around with my complimentary breakfast, included with my premium ticket. The main item was a hot vegetable dish of sorts, and I actually found this to be a great start to the day. Also included was a bread roll and a croissant, as well as a fresh fruit salad. Choice of tea or coffee was offered, and I chose a cup of tea. You also get a soft drink, and I went for an orange juice. And a little detail, but I loved the metal cutlery, which felt really high quality, especially as it was branded. By now, the sun is slowly coming up and giving a fantastic display in the form of this sunrise. We are quickly up to 200 km an hour, which is our train's top speed while on Iberian gauge, with the fastest speeds to come later in the journey. For the ride out of Alicante, the line weaves around smaller towns and villages, and often coming into close quarters with the modern high-speed line to Madrid. The best scenery is after our next stop, so for the time being, let's look at the interior. The interior design is definitely outdated, being almost unchanged since these carriages were built way back in 1999. Just look at this retro LCD screen. Despite this, I found the interior to be in impeccable condition. Everything was spotless and working fine. Renfe are actually refurbishing this fleet at the moment, so it will be interesting to see what that's like. Now let's look at the seat comfort. These seats here were okay, but nothing special. The seat base was firm, but the ergonomic support was good. Up top, there's a slightly winged headrest and an antimacassar. Each seat has a pair of folding armrests, and these were also padded for extra comfort. Beside the seat, you'll find the recline button, which allows the seat to be raked back to a more comfortable angle. Legroom here in Premium is fantastic, and there's a lot of room to stretch out. Seats on this train rotate to face forwards, which is why there's so much room. There's also a folding footrest for added comfort. Above this, a net for storing smaller personal items. And on the seat in front, there's a folding seatback table, which was of a decent size. Finally, beneath the seat you can find a European-style plug socket, though it was a bit of a challenge to reach. Along the way, the train passes through many farms, including this one growing oranges. Spain is the biggest exporter of oranges and tangerines in Europe, though the country is also known for exporting grapes, tomatoes, peaches, and of course is the leading producer of olives globally. After 2 hours of brisk running from Alicante, we're on the approach to Valencia. We're arriving at the city's new terminal station, Valencia Joaquín Sorolla. This opened in 2010 to serve the then brand new high-speed line from Madrid, but the station also sees some Iberian gauge trains such as the Euromed service. Our train also connected to another one here, running in a double formation for the remainder of the trip. About 10 minutes later, we changed direction to continue towards Barcelona. On the way out of the city, we pass over many junctions, mostly serving freight routes around the port of Valencia. This is the 5th busiest port in Europe, and the busiest overall on the Mediterranean, so it definitely sees its fair share of freight train traffic. We are soon building speed again as we continue to head north. Despite not running on high-speed lines for most of the route, the Euromed service definitely travels pretty fast. But one thing that really lets this train down is the ride quality. The entire journey featured loud banging and harsh jolts, which got really irritating after a while. This is a common thing on all Talgo trains I've been on, thanks to the limited amount of wheels making you feel every single imperfection on the track. Just listen to how bad it was. Anyway, let's go and have a look around the rest of the train. 8 toilets can be found on our 11-car train today, 1 in most carriages. Let's take a look at the one in coach 2. Much like the rest of the train, this was spotlessly clean. The soap dispenser was working fine, as was the water. And up here, there's a button-operated hand dryer. Moving along, there's a buffet car named La Cafeteria del Tren. This was really quite busy, so I couldn't get any good footage. The space seemed to be very popular with my fellow passengers though, with lots of them choosing to congregate in here. Various drinks and snacks were on offer, though as I had already eaten, I didn't buy anything today. The remaining 7 coaches contain regular second-class seats in a 2+2 configuration. Other than having slightly less room, they looked to be the same as the seats in first class, though the bays of 4 were missing a table for some reason. But there are still a few more features to show you. Firstly, the onboard entertainment system. Each seat gets a personal radio, which allows you to listen to one of a few radio stations. You can also use this to hear videos shown on the ceiling-mounted entertainment screens, with an announcement letting you know what to expect.
On today's program, we will be showing a varied content program.
Whatever that is. Something that surprised me was the lack of onboard Wi-Fi, though I believe this is being fitted as part of the ongoing refurbishment. Though I think the best entertainment was sitting back and watching the passing scenery, with headphones to block out the banging noise. But if you don't want to see this, then effective window blinds are provided to block out the sun. Up above, there are individual reading lights, though for some reason my single seat got 2. Luggage space is provided in the form of very large overhead luggage racks that had no problem handling even the largest suitcases. Though equally well-endowed luggage stacks were present for heavier items of luggage, or as Renfe calls it, voluminous luggage. And lastly, coat hooks can be found between window pillars. Soon, we dive underground to serve our next station. This is Castellón, serving the major city of Castelló de la Plana. The modern underground station opened in 2010, replacing the 1860s station in the city. 2 standard gauge trains serve the station daily, which is done with the addition of a single rail, meaning that all traffic in that direction has to stop to allow the trains to run. We are still on Iberian broad gauge, but we will soon be arriving at the gauge changing facility, which was an interesting experience. This stretch of line offers fleeting glances over the Balearic Sea, though you do have to be paying attention as they are gone as soon as they appear. We also pass through many beach towns, such as Orpesa. These stations are served only by local trains. Another ability of these Talgo trains is the automatic tilting round curves, which you can just about see here. Unlike most tilting trains, these Talgo sets use a unique design where the body shells are suspended from the top, allowing them to swing like a pendulum. This doesn't even require any electronics, as the tilting happens naturally. After a few more stations serving the local communities up the coast, such as Benicarlo, Peñascola, the train slows down to a crawl. Here we enter the gauge changing shed, where our train changes from 1668mm Iberian broad gauge to 1435mm standard gauge. The process takes just seconds per carriage, and the entire train is done within a minute. After this, we pull into Camp de Tarragona, situated on the Barcelona to Madrid high-speed line. The station is mostly served by the semi-fast services between the two cities, but also sees some trains on other routes, like this one. And this is where the train can really stretch its legs, accelerating up to a top speed of 250 km an hour. Though even on this modern track, the Talgo design still results in a harsh and noisy ride. Seeing other railway lines begins to get more common as we approach Barcelona, a sign that our journey is nearly over. But before we arrive, let's talk about how much this journey cost. I booked over a month in advance and bought my premium ticket for just €44.90. For a 5-hour high-speed train journey in first class, also including a meal and flexibility options, this is an incredible deal. Note that prices are usually quite a lot higher, and even looking months in advance, it's at least double what I paid. We are now approaching Barcelona Sants. This station is underground, so unfortunately you don't get to see much of this beautiful European city when you arrive by train. Arrival at the station is just 1 minute late, at 12:18. In conclusion, this journey was a mixed bag. To start, the station experience is really poor, and the lack of a lounge was a shame. But the train itself was pleasant, and the service was a great addition. However, the rough and noisy ride offered by these Talgo trains is an irritating feature, and one which makes it harder to relax and enjoy the journey. As always, let me know what you thought of the Renfe Euromed in the comments, and click up here now to watch my video on Iryo, Spain's best high-speed train.